What's up, everyone? Everybody's here. It's Birds Deep with the Godfrey. We got Cool McCain, and below me, we got the NFL genius. Gene, tell him who you are.
Me! Woo! Gene.
That's always festive. And to match that, I got my Everybody Has a Price t-shirt on by the $1 Million Man. So
Everybody does have a price. People need to stop lying about that. Everybody has a price.
I believe it.
The question is always just, can you pay that price?
That's facts. Spitting facts right now. Cool. Slow the facts down. Too early for facts. Don't need the facts right now.
Yeah, cool. You were at that game last week, huh? Were you sweating that out a little bit there?
Sir. Oh, yeah.
I almost texted you and told you to leave.
Wait, you were at the commie game?
Yes, I was. I go every year.
Nice. I like that. How far is that from you?
It's about 5.5, 6 hours, and then with traffic, depending on what time you go, about 7.
Damn.
Talk about commitment, bro. I don't even go down 45 minutes. This man's going 5-6 hours. To a jump? That place is
for the
not next to your house.
It's about the squizzard, man. It's all for the squizzard.
I feel that. Everything's shared out. I'm ready to get rocking and rolling. We got to talk about grades. We got to talk about trades, trade deadline. I know you guys probably talked about Kevin Byard last week. I didn't get a chance to give my opinion on that, but we got to talk about grades. We got to talk about the Jalen Hurts knee. Is it okay? And then we got Cowboys week. I want to spend the majority of the time that we talk this week about the freaking Cowboys. Cowgirls, Cowboys, cow whatever. Is there anything worse than a Cowboys fan not from Dallas?
No. I mean, no.
A Santa Clara football team fan is just as bad.
Santa Clara football team. I don't know. I think Cowboys fans are worse than anybody, especially the ones that are
chirping from Santa Clara. Them Santa Clara chirpers, bro. I'm telling you,
they be chirping. They don't hear much chirping from them. They lost 3 straight.
The birds still be chirping.
Yeah. And I believe on a show that we'll be doing in about an hour, I predicted that Seahawks would be in first place. I didn't think it'd be this soon, though. And
that's funny.
It looks like that's the way. Seahawks are second seed, but that's another show. But I will say, the things that make Cowboys fans special is what people don't realize here, especially Philly. The reason why it's aggravating to us, and I'll put the Pittsburgh Steelers in this category. That in the late 60s and most of the 70s and the early 80s. Well, I wouldn't say the early 80s. I would say most of the 70s, late 70s and early 80s Eagles were good. People jumped on the Steelers or the Cowboys bandwagon from this area. And I always go, oh, was your dad from there? No, he was a fan because they were on TV all the time. You know, the Steelers won all the Super Bowls in the 70s. Cowboys were popular, won some Super Bowls. And so a lot of fans from around here decided to bandwagon jump because the Eagles were brutal for a long time after 1960. And their grandpappy jumped and your dad jumped, and then they continue to jump too and be a bandwagon rider. So that's why we have a certain contempt for them around here, because they left. And now when you want to watch a Super Bowl, you got to watch it on VHS.
Loyalty, inside my DNA. Gotta go do a little Kendrick to let y'all know the loyalty that we have to the Birds in Philadelphia and even outside Philly. Cool ain't from, he's from Philly, but he don't live in Philly. Eagles fans' loyalty is insane. But let's talk about the Washington Commanders game. Let's give out grades. Cool. Where are we starting? We're starting the defense. We're starting the head coach. We're starting the QB1.
Let's start at QB1.
Yo,
let's start
QB1. He would get an A+ from me if he didn't have that turnover on the tush push. And I don't give him all the blame for that. Like, mishandled snaps happen, right? They do. I don't even know if that was his fault. But he gets an A regular A, dropped 38 points, basically dismantled the Commanders by himself. They're no longer a team. They've handed in their card. They've got rid of Chase Young, Montez Sweat. They're in full tank mode after what Jalen Hurts, QB1, did to that team's defense. I give him a flat A, no A+ because of the fumble. Can't keep having these turnovers. but he gets a flat A for me. Whoever want to go second can go second.
You go, cool.
All right.
Heat it up.
I'm going to give. I tell you what, I'm going to give him an A+. Jason Kelsey said after the game that the fumble was not Jalen Hurts' fault. That he never got the ball. So there's no way that he could fumble because he actually never got it. It was a mishandled snap from Kelsey to Hurts, and Hurts never got the ball in his hands. So I'm not going to punish him for that. You know I will punish anybody for anything. So
Fair.
I'm not punishing him. Then it's solid. But, yeah, I'm going to give him an A+. Played well. The only turnover, of course, was the one that really wasn't his fault. Read the defense well. Handled the rush. He's not 100%, so he's staying in the pocket a little bit more, but he's running still too much. So what I want to say about the Eagles, and why you're going to hear some of the greats you're going to hear later, you know he's hurt, and you're still going to run him like he's not hurt. How is that ever smart? He gets the A+ for football. Great job.
I'm going to give him an A+. Here's the thing, though. Looking at that fumble, and I was actually coincidentally watching the rerun on my TV while at home working. Of the game they had on NFL Network, and I was looking at the replay several times. It looked like he got his handle on the ball, but it looked like a freak play. Looked like he ran into the back of the center, and the momentum hit the ball as he was running into the center, and it knocked it out of his hands. So I'm not really looking at that as he wasn't carrying the ball correctly. He was being dangerous with the ball. He wasn't protecting it. I just look at it as a freak thing. You know, I didn't see any interceptions. And I got to give him an A+ because my man was limping down the field like Willis Reed. Okay. I just got to give him respect for that because there's a lot of dudes that wouldn't do that. And there's a lot of guys that are a quarterback that can't come back from a deficit. They kept fighting. There was reasons to, the Kenneth Gainwell fumble. They could have folded in, but they're not that type of team. They're a good team. They're not going to pack it in. And Jalen kept pushing forward. And he pushed the ball downfield when he had to. And we've seen this over the past couple of weeks where a lot of people that when they have to pass, they cannot pass. And they were in a passing situation, and they were able to pass. A.J. Brown was going off. So I got to give him an A+, man. I thought like he showed a lot of fortitude there, a lot of guts. And, you're damned if you do it, you're damned if you don't. And I'm gonna give him credit where credit's due because he toughed through it. And he said, I got this. And you saw him limping. I mean, it's obvious.
What are your thoughts on his comments in the press conferences where he's getting annoyed and angry with the reporters asking about an obvious injury?
I don't think he should get annoyed, but I do see the frustration. But it almost seems like evasive, in my opinion, where he doesn't really want to answer a question about it. Or, I don't. The reporters are supposed to do that, right? Like, that's a slippery slope for me. That's a whole other broader subject. I see fans give reporters a lot of hate, and we went through that for a period here with, I can't say the guy's name wrong, but I think you had him on your show once. The guy who broke the story. Yeah, he broke the story about Wentz, and people gave him shit, but he ended up being right on a lot of stuff he reported. And their job is to report good, bad, or indifferent. So I want my reporters being pit bulls and asking it over and over and over again. I want them to be annoying because I don't want to be a fan, like a San Francisco fan. Sorry, I know we're taking a shot there. Where everything is controlled from the team reporter on down. We're blessed in Philadelphia to actually have some good reporters. We're in a lot of other cities, the reporters are trash, booty juice. You'll get no information. You'll be like, oh, this guy was scratched. Bijan Robinson, that would have never flew in Philadelphia. We would have sniffed that out on Wednesday. Okay. So I don't really have a problem with it. I think he was trying to be evasive, and it was interesting seeing him react to it because you don't usually see Jalen react like that.
He just don't seem happy. I know Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has smiled and been happy after wins. I know he's very businesslike. I understand that. But this year he seems way more annoyed, way more frustrated. And I'm just trying to understand where that's coming from, right? Like Jalen Hurts last year and Jalen Hurts 2 years ago, he was quotable, right? He always had those quotes at the end of each press conference where he'd say something that would be insightful and we would listen to that. Even after wins, he just seems annoyed. Like you don't want to talk. And I get it, but it's part of the job, man. You're a franchise quarterback. You got to talk to the media. Cool. Do you see anything differently? What's your thoughts on that?
I absolutely do see it differently. Okay. I agree with what you guys are saying, but in said press conference, he did state, hey, guys, I'm not going to access any more questions about that particular thing, right? He said, I'm not answering any more questions about it. So then people come and ask him about it. That's going to annoy anybody. That's how I feel about it. Now, if he said, okay, excuse me, guys, if he said, okay, shoot some questions, then it's fine. But I mean, there's not much else that could be done.
Okay. I just, and that's fair. I guess that we can leave it at that. I haven't seen him getting snippy over other questions that are not related to his knee, so I get it. Maybe he doesn't want to give any information out to other teams so they know what the injury is. I get it. There's a little bit of gamesmanship in it. Where do y'all want to head next? Y'all want to go head coach, or y'all want to go defense?
Yeah, let me expound on what you just said right there. So I think too, a little dynamic that might be going on in the background is, I think the NFL is starting to put a lot of pressure on teams for giving information out pregame, and the reason would be is now they're invested in gambling, right? If you're gonna have and let's be honest here, football, fantasy football, gambling have made the sport explode. I loved it before that, but a lot of more people are paying attention to it. So, I think teams are like, no, this is what I meant, and this is what I said, because Bijan isn't the first time something like that happened. And I think teams are sensitive to it. So they're like, no, man, this is what I meant. So I think they get a little twisted because they feel like their words are going to get twisted. And it's not, but I get their defensiveness from it. But a lot of it has to do with, like, listen, your product is based on people putting money on your game at this point. So, I mean, I appreciate my reporters doing that. But, yeah, I get what you're saying. It's an interesting dynamic to keep an eye on. I think the NFL is going to really, really clamp down on that kind of stuff. Whether you're really injured or not. He might have been injured, and they kept it off the report, and the NFL might have a question about that.
Look, there's a lot we got to digest about that football game. If you don't mind, can I start off and we go over to defense?
Sure.
Defense is D for me. Sam Howell looked like Joe friggin' Montana. The only reason I didn't give him an F is because the end of the game, they held, scored, and then held. So the last three possessions kept him out of the F category. But at one point, Sam Howell was 21 of 22. That can't happen. And I'll be honest with you, man. James Bradbury is getting beat like nobody's business. He looks terrible. And he lost a step. Maybe he needs to make a move to safety. Whatever it may be, James Bradbury is getting burnt toast. Jahan Dotson was having his way with Bradbury all day. Slay got beat a few times. I'll say this, right? There was three guys on that defense that looked like they were ready to play. They had huge days as a whole. I thought Kevin Byard looked decent. He obviously wasn't in the right spot. I love the way Sidney Brown looked. And listen, guys, it's going to get annoying. Was Nakobe Dean, 13 sacks, 11 solos, 2 TFLs. He looked like he was everywhere on the football field. So
13 sacks. What
13 tackles. 13 tackles, sorry. 13 tackles.
He would have been on the Comcast building like I'm the Eagle. Like if he got the 13 sacks, he'd been up there flying.
13 tackles, 11 solos, 2 TFLs. Led the team in all three categories.
Good stuff.
I felt like he looked like he was flying to the ball. I felt like that was his second best game of the year behind the Miami game. The Miami game, he was incredible. Stopping Raheem Mostert. I didn't get a chance to talk about him then. I think he's been a shining star on that defense recently. But Sidney Brown looks like a stud. I really love that kid out of Illinois. Our second-round safety. I'm really happy with that pick. Nakobe Dean. But the old guard just needs to come to play, man. They're not looking great. James Bradbury, I'm looking at you. I give them a D.
Yeah, man. You give them a D. It sounds like they got the D, and it looks like they got the D most of the game. But I don't know. Bradbury, I don't know if he lost his step. I feel like them putting him in the slot, then moving him a bit outside, putting him in the slot. I feel like getting adjusted to the defense. I feel like they're fucking up with this guy's flow. They should have never put him in the slot in the first place. I don't think they should have ever did that. I don't know if he lost his step yet or not. I can't really tell by what I've seen. I know that's the first thing people tend to go to when that seems to happen with cornerbacks. But I feel like they need to let him play where he's been successful, and I think they're going back to that, right? But putting him in the slot early on, I know there was injuries. I just don't think that was the solution. I think that we had other people we could have plugged in the slot and left him where he was being successful at. I think it's a different position to play in the slot. As a cornerback than on the outside, and that wasn't him. So then they're putting him in there. I don't know the approach, the preparation he has to take, but the defense overall, I felt like I was a little worried because my grade's going to be a D as well. They're getting a D. They didn't give any D until the end, but they were getting a D given to them. The business got given to him. Sam Howell just looks like a master at when he's playing the Eagles. I don't know why, but he does. I mean, this guy couldn't beat the Giants the other week. I mean, it blows my mind. And what worries me is Jalen Carter went out of the game at a certain point, right? I don't know which point, right?
It was early.
Now, I want to think our defense is entirely predicated on the presence of Jalen Carter, but it almost feels like that, right? Brian Robinson's running up the middle. He always seems to have a Hall of Fame game against us. Maybe Eric Bieniemy just knows how to scheme against the Eagles schematically very well. He seems to have our number, but I don't understand. And, Hassan Reddick got the sack at the end of the game. We need it, and I appreciate that. But, I mean, it's this funnel crap defense. You watch it, and I'm thinking to myself, you can't play that type of defense when you're playing from behind. You can't just funnel stuff for the field. Oh, and by the way, you can't let them score from in between the 20s, right? And that was happening too. Because a lot of these defenses are like, oh, we'll let you go off in between the 20s, and when you get to the red zone, it's a different story. Well, the thing is, if you let them score from outside the red zone, that doesn't matter, does it? And that was definitely happening. So I'm going to give him a D. I don't like the scheme. I don't know if it's scheme or player effort, but it seemed like when Jalen Carter was out, the defense was out. They were like, we're done. Jalen's out. And I don't think our defense should be. Jalen is an amazing talent, but you can't tell me that the D's not capable once he gets hurt. I mean, come on, man. There's talent on this defense.
Cool.
So I'll take a couple of things. I'll take a couple of things into consideration. We're already playing the Commanders the second time this season. People have said for years that Eric Bieniemy is not a good OC. That's hogwash, poppycock, horse, crap, haberdashery, all those things. He is a good OC. He calls plays. We've seen that. By this being the second matchup in less than 8 weeks, right? They had an opportunity to have film against themselves playing against us and formulate a game plan to try to expose the weaknesses that they saw in the first game. That gets compounded when early in the first quarter, Jalen Carter goes out. And no, the defense isn't predicated on Jalen Carter, but now you're saying old man Fletcher Cox. You got to play the whole game. You got to get your old butt out here and play a full game instead of playing 20, 30 steps. And I mean, Fletcher Cox is, around our age, right? So he doesn't have that same stamina that the young bull fresh out of college does. So I think that was part of what we got there. I do agree completely with you, Godfrey, about Bradbury. I do agree with you completely, Gene, as well. He's played bad. Whatever the reason is, he's played bad, figure it out. But what I did like about the Eagles defense, and this is something I've seen as a continuing thing, halftime adjustments are being made. They did get dealt with a lot in the first half. Not going to pretend that they didn't. Had me sweating. Had the Commanders fans around me high-fiving and talking about F the Eagles and hail to the Commanders and all that. I'm
throwing crab cakes at you, seafood salad, all that stuff.
They would not dare. I was surrounded by other Eagles fans. They would not dare. It would have been a brawl for it all, right?
I was wondering how that conversation ended when Reed Blankenship got that interception and then the Eagles took the lead. Just wondering how that conversation ended.
So once that happened, then all you heard around the stadium was "Let's go Eagles" for like 20 minutes, and all the Commanders fans were like,
It sounded like a damn home game toward the end. I was like, yo.
It sounded like a home game for most of the game, actually.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't know if Commanders fans are back in on the team yet. So, I mean.
They are when they're winning. They're front running with the team right now. They don't 100% believe in, so they're front running. When they're up, they're all about the Commanders. But as soon as they get down, they just die, pretty much. I'm going to give them a C+. And like I said, the reason I'm going to give them a C+.
Oh, my Lord.
Yes.
All right. Let me hear it.
We also got to think about one other thing here. The offense put them in a bad position twice by giving up 14 points that should have been on the scoreboard for the Eagles, which would have made the Commanders have to play the game differently. Would have made them have to speed up, would have made them have to play a different game on offense. So
Yeah, but I mean, they gave the defense good field position. Like the defense, they're starting on our own 6 and their own 2-yard line for both those drives.
they were, but they weren't points on the board. They were going to be able to move the defense against us either way. I mean, let's be honest. When we play the Arlington football team the second time, if the Giants are worth anything, we play them the second time, and we play the Commanders the second time. It's always a more difficult game for our defense because they now understand what they're seeing, and they get that sense to go back at you again the same season. And the way the schedule worked out with those 2 games being so close, I just feel like they were ready for us. But we found a way in the fourth quarter. The defense found a way to win this game because the offense gave up 14 points. The defense got that pick. The defense was the reason that they didn't get back down the field and get a chance to score and tie it up. So I feel like if the defense didn't do what they did for us within this game, we would have lost. Did they have some bad plays? Absolutely. That's why they got a C. They didn't get a B or A, but they made adjustments and they did enough to help us win that game. If that defense doesn't come up with those plays, I don't know if we win that game.
I mean, 38 points, only 7 were off the defense's back, and they left 14 on the board. If we're being honest with ourselves, 52 points on the offensive end of the ball should have been scored. I don't know if our defense won that football game. Our offense won that football game.
Absolutely. Actually, let's correct that. If it was not for the defense, they don't get that tushy-pushy run play at the end of the game because if the defense doesn't stop them, that play doesn't happen. So let's correct. The defense was the reason that they were able to get that 7-2. It's actually 14 points thanks to the defense.
It's fair. That's fair. I mean, I get what you're saying. I just think that when you make Sam Howell look like a Hall of Fame quarterback a week after he looked awful versus New York, and I hear your point about Eric Bieniemy. I do. Very good offense coordinator, but Sean Desai also had time to adjust. Seen them already, and he didn't adjust. And I felt like the Eagles defense showed you that they're not championship caliber right now. They could be in the future. And the one thing that scares me is this, right? They're 26th against the pass in the NFL. That's terrible. That's really bad. 26th against the pass is bad. No team has ever won the Super Bowl. It's not been a top 15 pass defense. Just to be clear, just make sure that's known. That pass defense needs to get better. Hopefully Kevin Byard adds to that. That secondary. I feel like their secondary should be one of their strongest parts of the team. You got Kevin Byard, you got Sidney Brown, second rounder, you have Reed Blankenship, Darius Slay, who gets paid a lot of money. You have James Badberry. You don't get the R back until he learns how to play some defense. He's Badberry right now. We'll see. What do you got, head coach, Cole? What do you give the head coach for the game? Offensive play calling, as an overall job.
I'm going to give him a B-.
Okay, just a half step above the defense coordinator?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You want to know why?
Sure.
Because you're still running the ball with Kenneth Gainwell, who is making mistakes, not getting yards in the wrong areas. There are places where Kenneth Gainwell can be very helpful for this team. It's not inside the 20s. You're also running a quarterback who has a bone bruise and had to get his leg massage for an hour before he could come out and do interviews. And you're running him like he's not hurt. Are we trying to have our quarterback make it through the season or not? Because if you are, I should probably drop your grade down more for being stupid. Until he's healthy, he should only be running if he has to. There should be no design run plays. That has to stop.
To be fair, though, Kenneth Gainwell had 2 carries the whole game. The fumble makes you realize, like, it gives you that impression that he carried the ball. He had 2 carries the whole game.
Hold on,
he had
guys.
a lot of plays that he was in the game. He was in the game.
To a DM
way
about
more
this. Give me a
plays.
second. Responding to a DM.
Way more times than he should have been. He was in the game. Swift is a better runner. Swift gets chunks of yards. Swift will have 4 plays. Gainwell will have 12. Swift will have 6 plays. Gainwell will have 18. This is ridiculous. And of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit. But the share should not be Gainwell centric, and it is.
Well, it's 16-2 in carries.
But
Swift
plays.
Come on,
No,
snap.
right. Snaps
Yeah,
there.
snaps.
Kenneth Gainwell had 5 receptions on 5 targets. He had 1 bad play. If we're being honest, he actually had a really good play in the fourth quarter too.
He had a good play
I'm
in the
not-
fourth quarter.
I'm not against Kenneth Gainwell.
Okay, that's fine. I am.
You know, the
Period.
rumor is that the person who sent Kenneth Gainwell the DM was Jalen Rager. I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
Jalen Rager should not be sending anyone a DM. Jalen Rager should be trying to stay on the NFL roster.
I'm just joking. I'm alluding to the fact. I hope he handled that correctly, the coach. I'll get into my grade. So is it my turn for the grade? Wait, did I skip? All right. I'm gonna give him a B, flat B. My thing is I hope he handled the Kenneth Gainwell session this thing correctly, because that's unacceptable to me. I don't care what happened. You're responding to DMs. You can't be in that headspace. You're a professional football player. Where's your head at? I know, that he had that fumble. Wasn't good. I do get fans' frustration. My question is, and maybe you guys can enlighten me. Is Rashard Penny dust? Is he not capable for a few carries in the goal line area? Is he that bad off? Or they just don't trust him? I'm curious, because
Did Boston Scott become trash all of a sudden?
Yeah, and that's another question too. Like, I'm okay with giving Boston Scott some goal line carries because he has successfully had a few and done well. Maybe it's against the Giants only or New York Jets. I don't know. But I feel like he's smaller, schematically speaking. He's smaller and shifty enough where he can, in that small area, it's going to be hard to see him behind that lineman as well. I mean, he's not Darren Sproles by far, but it's Darren Sproles-esque as far as the size and getting behind the lineman. And I feel better about Boston Scott in that area, and I feel better using Kenneth Gainwell if you want to change it up between the 20s. I think DeAndre Swift should be able to be used at any part of the field, in my opinion. I do feel that they, I think the coach has a little bit of, I'm going to call Rob Thompson in him. And Gene might know where I'm going here. I think he's a little bit too loyal to certain players by fault sometimes. And I think this could be, us seeing that, right? Like, he's a Gainwell guy. He was wearing a Gainwell t-shirt, I don't know, at the Eagles flight night 2 years ago. You remember that, right, Gene?
I do. And
I don't have a problem with Gainwell, but I do have a problem with him doing the DM. And I do think that he's not looking that great. And, we'll get into the trade deadline stuff later, I guess. I feel like the Eagles maybe should have got it back. I don't know if they needed to get a Henry or something like that, but at least add to it, because if you're telling me Rashard Penny can't be active, that's a problem. You need depth with a team that runs the ball a lot. They haven't been running as much as last year, but I would like to have some depth there. I like that,
did they not have depth there, or are they not using them? Like, I disagree with you, Godfrey. I'm okay with the depth that they have on the running back room. I just wish they would have used the other running backs a little bit more. I would love to see Rashard Penny get some carries. I would love to see Boston Scott get some traction.
So you think
I'm not against Kenneth Gainwell. I think he's a good third down back, good receiving back coming out of the backfield.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a very good chip blocker coming out of the backfield. I agree with Cool when he said, I don't like where they're running him.
Yeah, it's not him personally. It's how he's being used. Scott and Swift should be the guys that you're using anywhere. I think there are positions where you use Gainwell, and I'm not saying never run with Gainwell. I'm not saying, Gainwell should never run a ball. But I think in the pecking order of honestly true running in this team, he's the third best running back. I'm sorry Nick Sirianni doesn't see it that way. I don't know what kind of blinders or Gainwell colored glasses he has on.
Right? What do we hear coming out of camp?
Yeah,
Gainwell looks really good in camp.
Who else did we hear?
Running back in camp.
Who else did we hear was so great in camp? That freaking Quez Watkins. Apparently, they don't understand that sometimes you could be great in camp and not good in the freaking regular season where the games count.
Well, that's my thing. So that's where my loyalty comment comes in.
Yes,
he feels like Gainwell earned it, and so he gives him the opportunity. And sometimes there's a line, and the coaches have to figure that out in all professional sports where, yes, you may have earned it, but I think this isn't the right opportunity for you, right? And Boston Scott needs some more touches. I don't have a problem with their depth. You're right, Gene. The reason why I bring that up is their actions and the coach's alignment of the running backs tells me that they have a problem with their depth because they're not using the other pieces. And that's where I'm going with that. Okay. So if you're going to – Rashard Penny's inactive. He's inactive. You pay to do that.
Right. If he's not going to play, cut him and let's find somebody else.
like he's inactive, and then you're not even using Boston
play him.
Scott. Like Boston Scott has proved multiple times under different head coaches he can be useful.
He's trustworthy with the ball. He gets positive yards when he runs the football. He's
100%.
take down because he's low center of gravity.
I don't get their rotation
and Nick Sirianni. None of that matters to them.
That's my biggest.
That's why I give them a C. I give them a C as a whole, and I think that look, man, Jalen Hurts played out of his mind. But if we're being honest with yourselves, and this is another reason I didn't give him an A+, is you have a guy on that offensive side of the ball that's just catching everything. AJ Brown is making great catches on top of great catches. I don't look at them as like world-class throws. They're good throws. I look at them as a great receiver saying, I'm taking this ball.
Yep.
And AJ Brown, I think he solidified himself as the third best receiver in football right now. I really believe that. Only behind Jettas and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, and you know what? It's amazing what a good quarterback could do for you too. Because if you talk to people about AJ Brown before he became an Eagle and before Jalen took a jump, they'd be like, "Oh, he's not." They would say he's barely top 10. That's what people would say. That's what they would say. And I'm like, okay, look who he was catching the ball from. He's getting more volume. And he in Tennessee, it wasn't as much volume. It was probably more big chunk plays, 4 or 5.
He's definitely a guy that needs volume. You can see it. He feeds off the volume. The more he touches the ball, the better he gets.
He's a physical specimen. I mean, it just what he's doing right now is special, in my opinion. I mean,
we got to move the trade deadline because it's 6:33 already, and we got Cowboys week. What were your thoughts on Chase Young going to the 49ers, the Eagles getting Kevin Byard, and the rumor of Aaron Donald? And I want to say rumor of Aaron Donald because that rumor apparently was very real. Apparently, Philadelphia had the opportunity to land Aaron Donald. It was going to take a third and a fourth, and the Eagles didn't pull a trigger.
Was that more of a salary issue, though?
It might have been. 100%.
So here's my thing about guys like Chase Young and Aaron Donald. Great names, great players. But if you look at it outside of the name and reputation, Chase Young's had a lot of injury. What has he done? Right? I mean, Montez Sweat.
That cost him a year and a half, but
it did. But still, I haven't seen the returns that I would expect from when he came out of college. I would look at him as a Myles Garrett type of player. Like he can.
Did you not think he was the best defensive lineman, like rookie defensive lineman you've seen his rookie year? Did you not?
Yeah.
That the way I seen that. And
yeah, but that was
ACL. Mm-hmm. So he's recovering from that. Did he not look great this past week versus the Eagles?
He had no sacks.
Sacks do not tell the story. Pressures, hurries, hits. The way you have to defend it, they don't tell the whole story. You know, who's never led the league in sacks? Aaron Donald.
Right. I don't think he's the same player he was when you're referencing that same rookie year. I don't think he's even close to that player. And at a certain point, when does it say like, well, you have to recover still, or this is your plateau because this is what you physically can do. Okay. And that's why I think you got him for a 3rd round pick, and we'll see if he makes a difference. I just think Aaron Donald, if we could have got him, that would have been amazing. But if it's going to clog up your salary, I can see you not doing it. I think Kevin Byard, I know Cool's opinion. I want your opinion on this. Do you think Kevin Byard is a bigger upgrade than Gardner Johnson was when they traded for him?
I think Gardner Johnson on this team is a bigger upgrade than Kevin Byard. And now listen, let me just be clear when I say this. I think Kevin Byard is a better player than Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but I think that CJ Gardner-Johnson adds a different swagger to your defense, a different attitude to your defense. I felt like everybody else played off of his energy, whereas in the secondary, it doesn't look like they have it. Now, Kevin Byard, one thing I will say, he did look like a leader. He looked like someone that was talking to people about positions and gap. I need them to have a defensive leader. Who's their defensive leader? Is it Fletch? Who's their defensive leader? Who's the guy? Like, because last year, I'll tell you, we knew it was Malcolm when Malcolm was here.
What did you hear what Kevin Byard said to Reed Blankenship?
Yeah, I heard. What did he say?
Well, Reed was basically playing like crap, and he knew it. And he said, "Listen, man, you got to stick with it. There's plays where you're going to look really bad in the NFL. This is before he made the interception. You know, you gotta stick with it. Forget those plays. Move forward. You know, I'm paraphrasing here, but Reed Blankenship was talking about what Kevin Byard said to him, and that already I think is having a positive impact on the back end of that
We can't
secondary.
pretend that Reed Blankenship, even though he made that interception, that ball was overthrown and thrown right to his chest. I don't give Reed Blankenship credit for making that play. I don't.
I got to catch it.
I give him credit as a defensive player for making the catch, because if he could catch, he'd be a running back or a wide receiver. So I give him credit for that.
But he caught the ball. It was thrown directly to his chest.
Yeah, but he did catch it. I mean, he's not a wide receiver, right? So I give him credit for the catch.
Yeah,
but I'm not.
Beat up.
But I'm not saying like, oh, Reed Blankenship. I mean, to your point, I'm not saying
he didn't jump a route. He didn't
jumped the route and baited him and everything. No, he just gave it to him. But he caught it.
But Kevin Byard's keeping his head in the game. He's trying to keep the people from not getting down. I mean, he's on a winning team now. Kevin Byard hasn't had a lot of time. It's a different culture, I think.
Who's the bigger impact to the trade deadline? Is it Kevin Byard or Chase Young?
So far, I think it's gonna be Kevin Byard because of how much we're going to need him. I think Chase Young, best case scenario, is in a rotation in San Francisco, where Byard's going to see a lot of time on this field.
I think it's Chase Young. I don't think it's that close. I think that knowing that you have to double either him or Nick Bosa, and one of those guys is coming around the edge, I don't know, man. That defense just got scarier.
I don't know if I believe.
I mean,
go ahead.
Aaron Donald, right? Like, we'll talk about him real quick. He's got a Hall of Fame reputation. Is he the same player he was? I mean, he's not. He's on the tail end of his career, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not talking about Aaron Donald, though. I'm asking if you think Chase Young and Kevin Byard is a bigger acquisition.
It's tougher. I think Kevin Byard, because I just think we had a glaring need there. And I don't think. I think that's going to be more of an accessory to Nick Bosa, than it is going to be, Kevin Byard's coming over to help improve that whole position. I think they already had a strong defensive line over there in San Francisco. So it's a plus add for them.
We're talking about a guy that's never going to be able to be double teamed because you have Nick Bosa on the other side. I'm scared of what he's going to do. Just being honest.
I mean, if we're talking about Chase Young from his rookie year, I'm 100% with you. I just don't think, like Godfrey said, he's quite the same player. He will make plays. He won't be trash on the team. He will make them better when he plays. But I feel like he's going to go into a rotation. I don't think they brought him in to be an every down player. I think he's going to be a rotational piece, situational piece for them possibly. And I think that's going to be good when he does play, but I don't think he's going to play as much. Byard is going to be on that field quite a bit of time. So I think overall Byard is going to be a bigger add because of how much the need was there at that position. They didn't have a need at the defensive line, but you have this possibility, so you go get it, and it makes sense. But we had a need at safety, and we need Byard. So getting that need, I think that's going to be more.
I think the Niners needed him too.
I think Reed Blankenship loses his job by the end of the year.
Well, you ain't behind Reed Blankenship since he got drafted, so.
I mean,
I was just giving him credit 2 weeks ago.
Right.
I mean, I'm not
right. You don't think so? Hold on. Cool. Now I'm gonna hold you to this. All right. If you're starting somebody for the rest of the year and you can only pick one player or the other, and you watch both of them play, you're starting Reed Blankenship over Sidney Brown. You can always start.
Yes, I am, and I'm gonna tell you why I am, because I want Sidney Brown to be my third corner. That's who needs to be playing the third corner.
Fine, I'm good with that.
That's who needs to be the nickel corner, and Blankenship needs to be one safety.
Back. Who would you rather be playing?
I'd rather have Sidney Brown and Vontae Maddox, because when he gets back, he's going to get hurt 2 weeks after that anyway.
I'm with you then. I'm fine with that. If you want to transition Sidney Brown in the nickel corner, I'm good with that.
And have him rotate in at safety if you need to give a guy a break or a guy.
I think Sidney Brown, it's going forward, will be the better safety than Reed Blankenship. That's not hating Reed Blankenship. I like Reed Blankenship.
I think Sidney Brown's the more versatile.
He's quicker. That's where Reed gets beat. He's not as fast. And I'm not saying that's Reed's fault. He's just not as quick.
I don't disagree with Gene. I'm
not trying to hate on the kid. I love the kid.
Yeah, the Chase Brown thing, the reason why they got them is people think they got him for the defense. They got him for the offense because they need to put that team in a position to score on a short field. They're on a 3-game losing streak, and there's a quarterback issue there. And it's happening. Said it was going to happen. And that was more for the offense because they need to get turnovers and win field position battles so they don't have to drive the length of the field. So
I'm not arguing with you there. Let's get into Cowboys week, gentlemen. I'm not gonna lie to you. Be very upfront when I say this. I don't like this week for the Eagles. I think it's a terrible week for the Eagles. It's the week before the bye week. You're coming off an emotional road win with a little bit of a comeback. Dallas is, and I'll give them credit, man. I hate the Cowboys, but I'll give them credit. They're saying all the right things. Michael Parsons, they're the best team in the NFL. We're going to give it the old college try and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like this is a tough week. No, listen, to be clear, when they play them the second time in Arlington, I think they will have a better understanding and preparation. I think the Eagles can win this football game. I don't think this game is a lost cause, but I think if they win this football game, it's going to have to be on the backs of the defense. You cannot – Dallas Cowboys defense is not set up for you to play keep away. It's just not. The way you beat Dallas is chunk plays, big plays, and they can do that. They can. Jalen's not going to have a lot of time in the pocket. You have DeMarcus Lawrence and you have Micah Parsons coming around the edge. I think you can expose their cornerbacks. You might have to, and this is just my thought process, right? If we're going to talk about how the offense is going to affect and get after Dallas, you might have to play more big sets. I play a lot of 2 tight end sets. I use both of them to chip around the edges. I give Jalen more time, and I allow AJ and Devontae to beat double coverage. I think both of them can do it. I think they can both beat double coverage, especially without Trevon Diggs. Stephon Gilmore is playing good football. But and listen, give them all the credit in the world. They have a fifth round rookie stepping in the corner. I forget the guy's name. I had it literally on my tip of my tongue. He stepped in for them. He's playing well, but he's a 5th round rookie. Devontae Smith and AJ Brown should have their way with him. I think you have to run the football. You really have to play a big personnel and use extra people to help. Lane Johnson's hobbled. He's doing his best back there. I think this is an ugly game for Philadelphia. Philadelphia wins this game, the under will hit. I'll put it to you that way.
yeah, I think turnovers can't. So you can't be turning the ball over against this
100%.
team.
You turn the ball over, unless Dak does what Dak does and turns the ball right back over to you, you're in trouble.
The margin for error is very thin in this game versus other games that the Eagles have had, and I worry about that personally, and that's what worries me because, you can't have the fumbles where you run into the back of the center, whether it's your fault or not. You can't have the Kenneth Gainwell's dropping the ball, fumbling it there. You can't be throwing it into coverage where it could get picked off. This is a ball hawk team. They like to create opportunities, and they like to create turnovers. All defenses want to do this, but this team is really good at it. Micah Parsons is someone you're going to have to worry about. We need a full game from Lane Johnson. I mean, last year, you saw a difference as soon as he was out of the game against Cowboys, right? And that's across the board for the Eagles in any game when Lane Johnson goes out. You just don't have another Lane Johnson on the bench. But for me, this is a statement game where the Eagles need to come out here at home and need to beat their ass. Because if you're going to say you're the top dog, and I think they're on that precipice with everything that's going wrong, when you look around the league, okay, and where people are, settling like, listen, I heard the Dolphins were unbeatable. Okay, I heard the Niners were unbeatable. I heard all these teams. I heard the Chiefs were unbeatable. Just got waxed by the Broncos. I heard all this stuff going on with all these teams. And right now, if the Eagles come out and do what they need to do, they're undisputably the best team in football right now, in my opinion. Now, if they don't, they're wrestling with everybody else trying to get to the top of the pack.
Bye, bro. That's just my opinion. It's a very bad spot before the bye. Cool.
Well, they're obviously trying to get Jalen Hurts through this game so he can rest through the bye and get those days off, right? I mean, that's the strategy here, right? That's why, I hope they do that. But, Jalen is going to have to the Eagles can't have miscues in this game. It's going to be a tight game. And I think the Cowboys really aren't that good on the offensive side of the ball. But on the defense, they got talent, man. They can make plays. They swarm out there. I've seen it.
Cool. What are your thoughts? Offense versus their defense.
So Deron Bland is the guy you're thinking of. I would say I agree. It's very simple here. Run the freaking ball with DeAndre Swift, excuse me.
We can run it with Devontae. I'm just kidding.
They too close. In a round or two with Devontae wouldn't be bad. We've never done that. Getting the ball in his hands, he probably can make some yards, and he's going to get down out of bounds. He's not going to let you hit him. But DeAndre Swift needs to run the ball. We need a lot of that. We need some Boston Scott sightings. I'm okay with using Gainwell, but let's use him between the 20s. Why does the most that he gets focused on most games in the red zone? We take the smallest running back, and he's going to be the red zone guy. That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So flip the usage. Use him. You're in love with his speed. I get it. Nick Sirianni seems to be all about speed. I don't care if you can catch. I don't care if you can take a hit or not. But if you're fast, I love you, right? But this game, this is a divisional game. This is a game we need to win. This is when we need the best coaching we've had. Run the ball, double tight end six. I'm all for that, right? You got two guys that should be able to win, like you said, one-on-one, or whoever you try to take out of the game, the other one can eat. You also have Jack Stoll, who can catch the ball, right? So let's throw the ball to the tight ends in this two tight end set sometimes too. This hypothetical two tight end set, because we know the Eagles are probably not going to do this. But run the ball a lot. Keep Jalen in the pocket as much as you can. Stop calling design runs until his leg is healthy. And take what Dallas gives you. The main place Dallas gives you the ball, and we figured this out before everybody else. When Michael Parsons comes on the blitz, send a guy on the crossing route right where he was. That spot's open. Take what they give you. Read the defense and take what they give you. If they give you the long play, take it. Don't force it. Even though you have a guy like A.J. Brown who can pretty much catch anything, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes those plays don't work out well. But if you do go deep, put the ball where the guy can catch it, or it goes out of bounds or over everybody. Don't try to drop dimes in between two defenders, right? Look those plays off and come back to that if it gets open. That's what we need to do offensively, and we need to hurt them. And I don't mean like try to hurt anybody, but I mean like pound them, punish them, hit them hard, hit them high, hit them low, hit them fast, and hit them long. That's all we need to do. This needs to be bruising football for us to have a great chance to win.
So why don't you start us off with the defensive side of the ball?
Sure, I'll start you off with the defense. So the defense, we have to figure out the slot. So when I looked at the last depth chart, what I just said is what I see. I see Sidney Brown as the slot corner. We need Sidney Brown at the slot corner because they're going to put CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and he's eating the Eagles up in the slot because we don't have a true corner on him or a guy that has cornerback skills. That's Sidney Brown. He could play safety, absolutely. But as a slot corner, oh my gosh. I watched him last week as a slot corner. A lot of those times you were hearing his name called, he was playing slot corner.
Can we be done with Nicholas Morrow being on the field? I mean, Zach Cunningham's outplaying him every time they play.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
I need to be done with Nicholas Morrow.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
He just seems like he's always slow. Like you always like Nicholas Morrow there for the tackle, and it's always because somebody had just beat him across the middle. And it's like, I don't know, man. I'm just done with Nicholas Morrow being on the field.
And make Dak
hit him,
feel pressure up the middle. Make Dak feel pressure. Go up the middle on Dak, just like you did a couple of weeks ago on Tua. Go at Dak, make him have to make quick decisions, make him have to throw the ball fast, things he doesn't really want to do. And we know we're good at the run. Continue to stop the run and make them one-dimensional. Put the ball in RDP's hands and make RDP be the person that makes the AFT win. And I think we got a good chance.
Okay, Godfrey, tell me how the defense should approach the Cowboys this week.
I think you got to be super aggressive, and you got to go up the middle, right? You got to take away the middle. They're going to go over the middle with CeeDee Lamb a lot. I mean, that's what they're going to do. I can see slants in my sleep right now with CeeDee Lamb running over the, the middle of the field, and he's going to get his. It's going to be one of those things, but you got to make it. You got to make them one-dimensional. And what I mean is, I don't think people look at stats in a stat sheet and they don't see the game sometimes. Dallas doesn't really have a good running game right now. What do I mean by that? Do I mean like they can't run the ball? No. Tony Pollard is a good running back, but he is a complimentary back. He's actually better when you give him less snaps and more explosive. And they're trying to work Rico Dowdle into the backfield. And that's been reported by a lot of Cowboys beat reporters out there because that's why they were exploring trades for another running back. They're not satisfied for the running game. So it'll be really easy to make them one-dimensional. And if you can make it where they have to pass the ball, they will lose to the Eagles. And, because if you look at the 49ers Cowboys game, really, the defense didn't really play well, but the offense put them in such a damn hole in that game that they were just like, we're screwed at this point, right? Like, and I just feel like if you can make them one-dimensional and you take parts of their game away, and you're like, oh, you want to just throw it to CeeDee Lamb? Fine. But is there anybody else on that offense besides CeeDee Lamb that scares you? Anybody?
Yeah. Brandon Cooks, because fast receivers always bother us. I think
Brandon Cooks, yep,
is the
he's
problem.
I'm gonna summon the power of Malcolm Jenkins to hit him like it's the Super Bowl.
I think the one thing that's most important is Tyron Smith hasn't practiced again today, and I don't think he's going to play. I think if you have no Tyron Smith, Josh Sweat is going to get around that edge, and I'm telling you right now, it's going to be bad.
Is Jalen on track to play?
From what I've heard, yes.
Okay, that's important here. It's an important piece. All right. This is Jerome Brown reincarnated. All right. So he going up the middle, he's going to bring that pressure, man. I don't care who you are. And Dak has lost a step because of that injury, unfortunately, for him. And I think that's going to be the key is you going up the middle. You're going to have to bring that pressure up the middle, collapse the pocket. Don't give them time for the route to develop with CeeDee Lamb where it's a deep cross over the middle because that's their play. You guys, how many times have we seen that in the last 3 years? CeeDee Lamb, 20 yards, 22, 18, 15, and you can't give them the time to develop that route. And I think, the way our rotation is set up, if healthy, they can not give him that time to, throw that ball.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And if they pressure the quarterback, I really think this is the game. And I'm a fanboy, guys. I got to admit it. I'm an absolute fanboy. I think this is the game you've seen Nakobe Dean step in front of one and get a pick six. So you heard it here first. Nakobe Dean steps in front of one and gets a pick six this week. That's how
can that be a bet? Because if you put $5 on that, that's got to be like plus $5,000.
They got Eagles defense touching. We got 1 minute left, guys. I need a score prediction and any type of counterfeit green you might have. Godfrey, give me a score prediction.
Score prediction is I think the Eagles are actually going to score a lot of points. I see a 31-17 score prediction. You come out aggressive and you put them on the heels. You get up by 10 points on the Cowboys. They're screwed.
Now you're trying to sell me. Like I sold you on the Dolphins game. You're trying to sell me. Cool. Give me a score prediction.
35-24. And the counterfeit green is all the NFC teams salivating for us to lose. Piss off.
16-15.
Yeah. Did you say 16-15?
Yep.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Listen, if you have the Eagles win it, I don't care if it's 1 point or 1,000
16-15. That's what I'm going with.
That's going to be a slobber knocker.
I think it's going to be a very ugly game. I don't think the Eagles are going to move the ball very well. And I think the way they win this football game is to hit Dak.
My counterfeit green is for Eagles fans acting like how come Howie didn't do more at the trade deadline. I'm like, seriously? I mean, look, there was people you could look at. I heard they were looking at Jalen Johnson. That didn't really work out. He hasn't really looked that great this year. That'd have been nice, but you can't sell the farm away. And I think there's enough talent on this team where they can succeed as is right now. So I just, don't act like he didn't do anything on the trade deadline because he went to the party before anybody else and he was the first in line with Kevin Byard. That's all I'm going to say. It's my counterfeit green.
That's fair. I like that. I'll give you a counterfeit green, and I'll be very simple with it this week. My counterfeit green is the Eagles fans that do not understand what they're watching on the football field to know that who's getting beat and who's not. It's very tough to listen to analysts talk about what they're watching when I know they're incorrect, right? When you hear someone tell me that James Bradbury had a good game as an analyst, or what are you watching? Jahan Dotson, Jamison Crowder turned back the hand of time. We're talking about Bradbury had a good game, and it was
Bradbury struggles.
Nah, he's struggling.
He's struggling.
He looked terrible. Bad Barry. But hey, listen, we all picked an Eagles fan. It is Cowboys week. Godfrey, close us out.
Listen, guys, you know what time it is. It's Cowboys week, as Gene said. You know how we like to roll here. Watch it with us, comment on us, tweet at us. You know where to find us. You see all the handles. But this is the Godfrey, Cool McCain, and the NFL genius Gene. Not saying goodbye, just saying take it birds deep.
Take it deep.